Welcome, everybody. I'm your host, Crystal. This is another edition of the 9 o'clock Meltdown podcast up in Minnesota, talking to two very beautiful and wonderful entrepreneurs out in California. They are a husband and wife duo. I will kind of let you guys introduce what you do. I've got Garrian and Blair Jones on the phone. Hello.
Hi. Hey, everybody. How are you?
The both of you are entrepreneurs, which, is not unfamiliar to a lot of people. You are kind of your own bosses and you strike out and you do what you do. But kind of what makes you guys a little bit more unique is you're both into kind of the fitness side of things, the well-being, mental as well as physical well-being. How did that come about? I mean, did somebody meet somebody else and say, hey, let's do this? Or were you both on that path and just kind of met each other?
I would say how it came about, Blair and I both, we have a very similar past, meaning we both overcame a lot.
Okay.
We both had, she'll tell her story, but we both had unhealthy pasts and just we had to overcome a lot. And inside of those overcomings, when you start learning lessons, it's like you have been given keys to life. If you choose to learn the lessons that you grow through. Excuse me.
Oh, you're fine.
I'm coughing on cookie dough. Protein cookie dough.
I was about to say, that's a healthy snack.
Right. Yeah. So then you start learning lessons as you connect the dots, looking backwards on your life. And we had separate pasts. However, we ended up in the same path in regards to getting healthy, working on our mind, working on our body, working on our soul. It's been a beautiful marry of experiences over these last 8.5 years of transformation in every area of our lives. And this is kind of how we got it. It fell into our lap because it was what we overcame in our own lives. And for me, I saw that I had a key that could help support other people unlock their lives. Now we're just on this journey together.
Okay. And Garrain, when you say kind of unlock their lives, I mean, are you talking about tapping into other people's potential? Are you talking about, getting them on a healthier track, maybe like a diet or a workout regimen? I guess what kind of angle are you hitting?
Living your fullest expression in life. So it's never, for me, and Blair will share her portion, give me any platform. Give me any platform. I want to make a difference in other people's lives. And when I say unlock somebody's life, it is 100% unlock the life of their full potential, because we're not given those keys in school. They don't teach us this in college. They don't teach us this typically at the home. And we kind of, just carry on what our moms and dads did. When they were younger, you kind of just like repeat that over and over and over again. So most people go to their grave never knowing who they truly could have been, because you can't change without awareness. So when you have the awareness that there's so much more inside of you, our goal is to remind people of who they are and then give them tools so that they can live that out and discover those tools that are already inside, so they can potentially produce extraordinary results in their lives.
Yeah, and you had mentioned a little earlier an 8-year journey. I mean, that's quite a long time to...
For both of us.
Yeah, to put an effort into something. I mean, were there ever moments where you thought, maybe this isn't going anywhere, maybe I should just get a 9 to 5? I mean, what were those moments like?
Blair's she's got some crazy stories on that one.
Yeah, being your own entrepreneur in the beginning, it was like this super bright, shiny, super exciting adventure until I got on the adventure and I was like, all the things that I wish someone would have shared with me, but if they would have shared them with me, I wouldn't have ever started. So I was kind of in it for about a year. I thought I had a really good business plan. I had a commercial space that I rented, and I worked my business out of it, and I actually lived in that commercial building. I had a sleeping bag. I lived in my own office. I had a storage unit where I kept my clothes, but I slept on the floor of my office for a year in the same building where I worked. And I was like, this isn't exactly what I signed up for. Yeah. And I was sharing this story with one of my friends, and I was like, man, I just don't think I can do this anymore. I don't know what I signed up for. I think I'm over my head. I think I'm going to go get a job. And I remember he looked at me and he said, whatever, you're 100% responsible for your life, Blair. So whatever you don't like about it, one, you created it, but two, whatever you're upset about, you can put that memo in your own memo box. And I was like, oh my gosh, I am my own boss. If I'm upset about how things are going, that's on me. So it was a real eye-opener for me to see, but I'm very, very grateful for it.
Perfect. Excellent. Excellent. And now, kind of being an entrepreneur, if we can just kind of take a little side tangent and dive into that a little bit, it's a lot more than being your own boss. I mean, you're your own bookkeeper and financial advisor and, you know, everything that goes on inside a business. It all kind of relies on you. I mean, Garrain, Blair, were there any moments that you were like, wow, this is teaching me a lot? And I know, Blair, you just said you felt like you were in over your head. But kind of what moments really stuck with you guys? I mean, was it the financial side of things? Was it finding clientele?
It was, if I'm going to sell out to anybody's dream, I'm going to sell out to my own.
Okay.
Is what I kind of decided. And if it was like, if I'm going to have to work for the rest of my life, or what would I want that to look like? And it would be, you know, my husband very much is the same, but it's like I would choose to do something that I'm very much in love with, that it's not work. So I was like, you know, if you want to take the island, you have to burn the boats. So I locked in on my dream, and I didn't have any plan B. And it was like, this is what I want to do forever. I want to be able to do what I want with my time. I want to be able to create an extraordinary life. I want to be able to support people and leave a massive impact and leave a legacy for my family that is here after I'm gone. And I really believe that the only way that I could create that was to pave my own way and whatever I had to do to get there.
Yeah. You had both kind of mentioned that you overcame obstacles in your path. And now Garrain, I was kind of snooping on your website a little bit. It said that you had been homeless for a period of time and you didn't quite know where things were going. Everything was really up in the air for you. And then I believe it was a homeless guy just said, you know, change your life. And that really struck you there.
Okay, I see where we're going.
So
by the time I was 10 years old, I had gone through what your average 40-year-old man had gone through. I had experienced so much in my life, but that was my normal. So I didn't know that other people didn't experience things like me when I was younger until I got older, and I could see that other people just had a difference. So, you know, I would say in 2011, I lived in my car, and just going through trials and tribulations was nothing new to me. So I wasn't like, oh my God, I'm living in my car. I was kind of numb to the emotion. But I was living in my car for 2.5 years, a little bit over $200,000 in debt because I hadn't paid taxes, owed a lot of money, was 40 pounds heavier than I am now. My mom was dying in the hospital. My girlfriend at the time had just broken up with me. And my daughter, we did not have a good relationship. And a lot of it had to do with me just not being a consistent father and not loving myself. So I went through all of that, and it was all happening at the exact same time. And then I just remember I had my moment of awakening, and I just yelled out one day, okay, I'm tired of fighting. I don't want to fight anymore. I want to be healthy. I want to be happy. I want to be surrounded by nothing but positive people. And I just want to inspire people, and I want to make a bunch of money, but I want the money to represent something that I passionately believe in, that I would do for free. Just show me a sign. Mm-hmm. And that was like the heaviness of my trials and tribulations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Where did you go with that? I mean, it's one thing to, shout at the air until you're blue in the face, but it's kind of another thing to really take that on and really examine what it means and kind of what you want to change about yourself, which sounds like what you had done. But I guess what was your next steps?
Well, you can't see the picture while you're in the frame. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of, but I've never been a person to not be curious about something and just get myself into stuff. And so a week later, I'm at the gas station with my last $2. And I tell the story almost every single day. So I just I could see it in my mind. And I remember a homeless guy walked up to me and he asked me for money. And I said, "You have more money than me." And he said, "Change your mindset, change your life." And in that moment, I've heard people say stuff to me before, but sometimes words carry a different kind of energy. And I literally stopped all of my thoughts in its tracks. And it just made me think, change your mindset, change your life. So if my mind is set on something, then that's why the result is what it is. So if I do different with the same circumstance, then my life will change. Well, it's been almost 9 years of every day me doing something different that I would normally do. But I usually do things in different where I'm being resistant the most, and then I'll just surrender. Okay. And then I'll just let go. And then on the other side of that, magic happens every single time. And as I started growing in consciousness and going to personal development seminars and reading books because of the change your mindset, change your life philosophy, it was teaching me how to articulate what I had just grown through from the past 8-9 years. And I was like, oh, that's why I got a result. That's why that happened. That's why I'm no longer depressed anymore. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And you actually wrote a book on this very topic.
Yes. In 2 different languages.
Wonderful. And that's available on Amazon, correct?
It's available on Amazon right now. It's in 2 different languages, Spanish and English, and it's a bestseller in 3 different categories. But the most important component and aspect about that is it is basic everyday principles to understanding the powers that already live inside of you. And it's an easy read. People are reading it with their kids and teenagers. My wife was a huge part of me actually finishing the book, because she's like, really, let's get it done. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. So yeah, that's out now. But I would love for Blair to share elements of her past of tribulations too, because it is, for someone, a human, to go through something like that and come out of it and learn the lesson, you can see why there's so much power and velocity in everything that she does, because of, there's grace in growing through resistance.
Right. And you beat me to it. I was about to ask myself, so go ahead.
Okay, what would you like to know? I was like,
I love it. I love it. I guess, what kind of obstacles did you overcome? And I know, it's been quite a while that the two of you have been working at this, your entrepreneurship, getting things going. Blair, you said earlier that you were basically living in the office space that you had. But I guess kind of what brought you to that point? I guess what kind of obstacles did you have to overcome?
Oh gosh, yeah. I think it's so fascinating looking back. So I mean, from a teeny tiny town, just like you.
2 harbors.
Yep. So it was like both my grandparents were from that town. All of my aunts and uncles live in that town. My parents graduated from that town.
Yeah.
I was like, there's only 3,000 people here, and I'm related to half of them. But yeah, I mean, I grew up around drugs and alcohol, and That's all I ever knew. So then when I went into the real world, that's what I did too. I grew up in a house where domestic violence was not uncommon. So all of the relationships I was in, it was just not uncommon. And it was never a victim story or poor me. I literally just thought I literally just thought that was normal. Like everybody drank on the weekends, recreational drugs were a part of, the friend circle that I lived in, and again, it just like being physical with your spouse was just not frowned upon because I just didn't know any better. So I remember it was my version of rock bottom. I was 22. I was 30 pounds overweight. I just remember just being so unhappy and I just kept asking myself, like, how did I get here? Like, how did it get this bad? And I had moved out of my parents' house when I was 16, so I hadn't talked to my parents. I didn't have a house to go back to. And finally I was just like, man, if I'm going to do something, if I could have control over anything, what would it be? And I literally just thought to myself, I'm going to take control of my house. It's like the one place that I started with. So I started with myself, and then slowly but surely from there, people just started noticing. They're like, oh my gosh, like you, not only do you look better, but you just feel better to be around. What are you doing? And then more and more people just kept asking me. And I think I was just the common small town girl that made one decision to do something different than everybody else. And I think that's what people were like, oh, I know her. I watched her lose 30 pounds. I can do it too. Oh, I know her. I watched her from being out every night of the week to, making different decisions. I can do that too. How'd you do that? I think people just needed to see an example. None of us had an example to see what was possible for your health, for your life, for making different choices, because we all just grew up seeing the same thing, and then we all just became the same thing. So
yeah, very true. I was actually thinking about that the other day myself. I'm like, I'm still doing the 9 to 5, and
yeah.
But no, so it sounds like the both of you kind of really try to lead by example.
Once we knew that changing your life was something worth like living.
Yeah.
Like, once I'm like, oh man, these people are saying, I want to do what you do. I want to be like you. And I'm so inspired by your journey. When you were vulnerable and I had somebody message me when I lived in my car and, I had suicidal thoughts and even attempted a couple of times. And I shared that vulnerably, but not from a place of weakness, but from a place of power.
Okay.
When I shared that, I got a message from someone in a private message on Facebook. It said, when I read your story, I put the gun down. And as soon as I read that, I was like, wow. I was afraid to share my story, but inside of sharing my story, it gave someone else permission to actually choose themselves, who literally put the gun down because they could see themselves inside of my story. And that's when I knew that that everything that happened to me in the past wasn't an accident. I was supposed to grow through all of that so that I could relate to the people who are going through the harshest of times, because most people don't share those inner secrets. And the more and more I was just unfolding myself and sharing over and over and over, I was reaching the unreachable and being able to be the voice of the voiceless. And it's the same thing with Blair. Every time she shares something, like, oh my God, you changed my life. And I'm just like, wow, like we're really on this mission.
Excellent. Guys, you're both an inspiration. Even just sitting here talking to you, I'm getting inspired right now. That's amazing. And it's amazing that the both of you are on this journey together. Now, not to get goofy here, but how did the two of you meet? I mean, Blair, I know you moved down to California. Was California kind of your end all be all, or your?
No. Nope. No. So I actually knew Garrain because we both had done the same thing. I knew who he was, but I had never met him. And so I had been an entrepreneur for about 5 years.
Okay.
And I kind of started to think about, like, man, like, started to see success. I started to check all the boxes and I thought would make me happy, but I still felt like I was unfulfilled or I was still missing something. And I really started questioning, like, am I maximizing my potential? Like, am I on the right track? Do I continue down this road? Do I venture into other entrepreneur opportunities? What is it that I do? And I went to a personal development seminar in California, and I flew there. And I walked in, and the first person I saw was Garrian. And I was like, hi, what are you doing here? And he's like, what are you doing here? And I was like, I'm taking this course. And so we both knew who each other were. And so I had kind of seen him. And then he was basically like my only friend, like at this seminar. I didn't know anybody. Mm-hmm. And so I just kind of talked to him, and we became friends, and we became really good friends. And then one day I asked him out on a date. That's kind of how that
went. Excellent, excellent. And now you two are married, and you're kind of in this entrepreneur thing together. That's absolutely fabulous. I guess, what kind of inspiration can you distill to someone who maybe is looking at doing an entrepreneurial thing? I mean, you know, you hear about it all the time. Just go ahead and do it. You know, jump off the end of the dock. You know, you'll fall, but you just get back up again. I mean, is there some truth to those kind of cliche statements? I mean, is it different actually doing it and being your own boss?
So the thing is it depends on what it is you're doing. Mm-hmm. Blair touched on it earlier. She loved what she was doing. Mm-hmm. I personally was already working people out for free. I was doing my version of nutrition and telling people and pointing people to GNC, and I was already doing that while I was living in my car. I just loved seeing people together and all these different things without making money.
Okay.
So what I would say is, before that even happened, I used to sit on a couch. My friend would invite me over. I was living in my car. He was like, man, we're going to find you something to do. And I remember his name was Chris. He goes, write down a list of things you love to do, mm-hmm. and a list of things you're really good at. And we're going to go on Craigslist, and we're going to find a way for you to earn some income. And every single day, either on his couch or at Starbucks, whenever he was gone, every day I was answering emails. I was, whatever it was in the field of something that I loved, that was the key. Because what we're doing now, if they would have told me, okay, you got to know all this and all these little technical things, mm-hmm. I would have never got into it. I got into it because I loved it. And I was willing to go through all the other things. Why? Mm-hmm. Because I love what I freaking do. I love supporting people with their transformation. I love getting people to see themselves in a completely different light that is a much higher version than the lesser version of themselves. Mm-hmm. I love teaching people how to make money, mm-hmm. you know, and inspiring them to evoke inspired action. Mm-hmm. That's something that I love to do. I would say to anyone that's out there, write a list of things write a list of 10 things that you absolutely love to do, whether you are making money or not.
Mm-hmm.
And then write a list of 10 things that you are extremely good at. And then just launch into the void and then start doing something. Because once you start something and you keep on doing it, some kind of another opportunity is going to come along, but you've got to be ready for that opportunity. The only way to be ready is to be in the essence of it in the right now moment. I was already working out people. I was already inspiring people. And then when becoming a wellness entrepreneur came along, it was what I was already doing. Mm-hmm. So the passion comes from, if I don't make money, I'll still do whatever it is when it comes to supporting people with transforming their lives, whether I'm making money or not, because I was already doing it. So I would tell that to the people out there: find something that you're passionate about. That it doesn't matter if you make money. Mm-hmm. Somebody else might have another different way, but this way here, it'll keep you in the long game. When you don't want to do it, you'll still be in the game because you love to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I can tell that you guys have done speeches and inspirational speaking things as well. You're both very articulate and, kind of getting the message across. So thank you guys so much. Is that kind of an art in itself? Being able to, like you said earlier, be kind of vulnerable and open up so other people can, see the changes that you've done and the transformation that you guys have had. Is there any point in time that that's kind of difficult, whether you're on a stage or even just talking like we are? Difficult question, I know.
I think it goes through stages, Like in the beginning, it was scary. I didn't know what to share or to want to overshare. Mm-hmm. And then you just kind of find your groove, and you kind of just, I was like, man, like if I'm my own boss, I also make my own rules. So, I just really believe like being able to be relatable to people. So it's talking about the days that weren't fun, and talking about our very colorful past that, like drugs and alcohol, big part of my past. It was in my past, but not that far back. So I think it's important that people can see, like, the more people that can say me too, or oh, I relate with her too, or oh, I've done that, or I know somebody else, I really believe it just gives people that much more permission to say, why not me, or why can't I do that? And so it's never the message that I'll share for myself. The message that I hope to share is that people can do and be exactly what I've created in my life, and that I'm not a unicorn. However, I believe that we all get to bring our own greatness and gifts into the world, because that's why they were given to us. So I'm going to maximize the gifts that were given to me and share the good things, the not so good things. And, but with that, I'm also really conscious of, I'm really particular of who I allow other people's opinions to come into my life. So everyone's going to have opinions about what I do or what anybody does. But there's a select few that I actually listen to. So there's a few people that I actually care about what they think about me, because those are the people that hold me accountable, that rise me higher or put me back on the straight and narrow when maybe I'm going too far left or too far right. But if I was going to listen to everybody's opinion, man, I would have quit before I started. So
was that another kind of difficult obstacle? I mean, for the both of you to kind of overcome? Because, I mean, everybody's got an opinion, and sometimes they're wrong, sometimes they're right. You don't really know at the end of the day. Was that another kind of obstacle for the both of you?
Yeah, you know what? It's crazy. I've always grown up, because I used to hear people say, never take anybody's opinion that you wouldn't trade places with. And a homeless man gave me change your mindset, change your life. So it's a really tricky place. But for the most part, there's a lot of opinions. There's 8.2 billion opinions. And if you listen to all of them, you won't get anywhere. So it's kind of like,
I said this the other day.
You gotta know what you want.
I was like, I'll be a student from everyone. I can learn something from everybody, but there's few I would take advice from.
That one's good. Yeah, that one's really good. And even to add to that, it's like, when you don't know who you are or what you want, it's easy to take everyone's opinions, and that's how you get nowhere. But when you're clear, you can't hit a target you don't have. When you're clear on what you want and you're clear on where you're going, then an opinion that matches the energy field or the frequency, or it matches, it sounds like something that matches where you're going, that the calling for your vision has sent that opinion. But that's only when you're clear. If you're not clear, then it can come from anywhere.
Very wise words. Thank you so much for sharing, you guys. Granted, you've got 8 years of experience and I have none, but wonderful.
But you are, though. You're creating a podcast, you're creating a platform, you're doing something new, you're following what you love. So, I really acknowledge you for creating this for people to express and share and following that passion of yours. So thank you.
Well, thank you for being guests. And honestly, I've been doing it for about 10 years. So I was with the radio station and kind of how they did things, and that didn't necessarily gel with me. So I struck out on my own. So here we are.
Yay! It redirected you to where you were supposed to be.
It did.
Absolutely.
It did. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. So, Garrain, you got a book coming out. Blair, you're taking clients and things like that. What else do you guys have on your docket? Like I said earlier, I was kind of...
Babies! We are working in the process of creating babies. I am so excited to bring little humans into this ecosystem that we're creating for ourselves.
Wonderful. Well, I wish you the best of luck on that. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Like I was, you totally derailed me, by the way.
Most people, listen, I've done 10 podcasts in the last week. And that question keeps getting asked, and I say it the same way every time, because I'm excited to bring humans into, it's difficult being in a relationship with two powerful people, but we're setting the groundwork for tiny humans to come in and make a difference and pass the baton on so they can do what they're called to do in this world.
Yeah. Oh, fabulous. Oh, you guys sound like you're going to be great parents.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time.
And we talk to them all the time before they're even here.
Oh, wonderful. So now I have to ask, would you want a boy or a girl more?
We're grateful for whatever God in the universe blesses us with. But we're super excited for twin boys to bless us.
Yes, King and Hero. We're intentional about King and Hero to bless us and choose us.
Fabulous. Well, I put it out there into the universe to bless you with twins. Well, that's exciting. Now I'll just have to snoop on your social media even more. And speaking of social media, I know you guys have done a lot on there. Blair, I've kind of been following you on Instagram for a while now. Garrain, I just jumped on your Instagram as well. Have you guys kind of found that social media is your way of reaching the mass populace versus kind of doing it, dare I say, old school, where you kind of had to do a plea for maybe a fitness magazine to pick you up?
I like both.
Okay.
You can't have one without the other. You can, but it's just different. When somebody is out of touch with humans, and when somebody is out of touch with influence.
Yeah,
I love being in touch with humans and being in touch with influence. So it's like the best of both worlds. I love that local, and I love being able to talk to, like, even with my book, literally I counted it, and there's 47 countries, somebody in 47 different countries that has my English book.
Fabulous.
So that would not have happened if I was just focused on local. But it's like from the local, you can change the world.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Blair, also, I love your Instagram posts as well. They're so open and honest, and there was one that you had posted about having a smoothie in the morning, and then you ended it with an inspirational quote and things like that, and it's not necessarily, it's a snapshot of your guys' life together, but it's also little things that other people can do for themselves as well. I really enjoy that the both of you have kind of honed in on that. Was that kind of your end goal all along, or has that just kind of come up recently?
No, it wasn't mine. I think it was, so I will acknowledge my husband for this. But I remember sharing like a story, like he was sharing like a really personal story with me. And I remember as he was sharing this story with me, I like started crying. He's like, what are the tears for? And I was like, I wish I was capable of sharing my, like, feeling free enough to share my story with people, because I felt so trapped. Like I felt like Oz, like people could see, like there was someone standing behind a curtain that wanted to come out, but didn't know how to be that for the world.
Okay.
And then one day I just did it. One day I just shared and said what I actually wanted to say. And I think the most important part was to never be from victim or poor me. It's not ever, I'm in a powerful place to be able to share. I'm so grateful for everything that's happened. Like, I'm so grateful for everything that's happened in my life. As everything in the universe serves me and serves everybody. But I think it was, like, if I'm looking back in my childhood, I have diaries upon diaries, and then I got older, and then diaries turned into, now I call them journals, but they're really just adult diaries. And I really took it as, I used social media as like a virtual diary that I could share my heart with people, that I felt like, if I didn't know who to communicate this with, and maybe this will, the intention always is, I hope my lessons serve other people so they can learn through them, so they don't have to go through the pain of what I learned, or they don't feel alone if they're in it. But it wasn't my intention, and I think it just, it kind of fell into that way, and people have loved and responded to it so positively that I felt passionate to continue to share it.
Excellent. Yeah, I've been enjoying actually both of your posts, by the way. Garrain, I read one the other day about Blair braiding your dreadlocks.
I was just about to ask her to do it after the call.
There you go.
We go into each other's cultures. We're learning about each other's cultures, and it's really cool. She's never braided locks before, but she did it her first time. And when I looked at it, I was like, yo, this is so dope. I was like, can you do it again? It's really cool.
Excellent, you guys. So what does kind of your daily routine look like? Not just being entrepreneurs, but, being business owners and having clientele. Is it a lot of emails back and forth? Is it a lot of phone calls still? Or have you reached the point where you kind of let people come to you?
It's a little of both, but I'll explain it to you like this. I was in room temperature water.
Okay.
And then you gradually turned up the heat. I could experience that heat at a much higher level because my skin and everything is It's adapting and adjusting as the temperature goes. Okay. But if you just put me in hot water right from the beginning, there will be a shocking factor. So this business, I mean, entrepreneurship is the same exact way. There's just a process, and when you come in, and then you adapt, and then you adjust, and then there's a little bit more, then you adapt and you adjust. But if you just throw somebody right in there, and it was like, you got to have a financial advisor, you got to do all this thing, they'll go crazy. And so that's why it's so important. What I think my wife she's a master at, she's like creating systems and structures that create a flow for people from the beginning to come in and flow through a process. And so to answer your question, you know, the days, even with our marriage, it's and just being in business, being in the same business, being entrepreneurs and everything, it's about adjusting, adapting, and flowing, and having a structure and all these different things. The only time it gets crazy is when we don't have a set of principles and rules in place, or a structure in place for us to flow through. Okay. You know, and so.
No, where it gets messed up is when we work too much and we forget about date night.
That too.
That's when it doesn't work.
Yeah, the flow, yeah.
There you go. You got it. It's a balancing act. Life is a balancing act. I mean, there's such thing as too much work and then being a workaholic, but then, you know, there's also being a relaxaholic too. So, yeah,
yes.
it's all.
I like that one.
Yeah.
It's
oh my
all
gosh. And then there's points in times where I've been a workaholic and my husband is a relaxaholic. And then I'm like, what are you doing? We need to do and then there'll be days where he's going a million miles an hour and I'm like, I don't get why he just didn't want to take a nap with me. So there are days where we are aholics in the opposite quadrant.
And we are figuring it out. And it is, I heard, we both heard this term the other day that we both just, our spidey senses perked up. I thought it was really cool. It's like, being in a marriage or being in a committed relationship is a forever educational system of growth that never ends until someone takes their last breath. And until one of you guys take your last breath. And I was like, oh, it's a forever educational course on growth. And so, yeah, and that was a little bit more than what you asked, but
no.
That tangent just showed up.
Oh, that's fine. No, like I said at the beginning, tangents are welcome. It's more about you guys than it is about me. So I guess to jump in kind of more of the business side of things. So let's say somebody reaches out to you for some wellness, whether that's, emotional, mental wellness, whether that's physical wellness. I guess what's your guys' process to kind of get the ball rolling? I mean, do you ask them what they'd like to get out of it? Is it more of kind of a, X, Y, and Z process? What can people expect?
Oh, great question. I think the best way I like to describe it is like they're here for an experience and I'm the tour guide. Okay. So I'm here just to like, what is it that you're looking for? What is it that you want? What are your goals? And then I just offer suggestions. And at any point, they can go, can I make this ride go faster? I don't really like my experience. What can we change? I have some friends that want to come with me. I really think it's really similar to that. Because again, I can make suggestions and I can support, but it's really their experience because I'm in the business of people and I'm in the business of serving people. So how can I do that to the best of my ability? I don't enjoy telling people what to do, but I really like helping them and navigating them and educating people to create the best possible outcome. And again, it's like at the end of the day, if there are things in your life that you truly don't want to give up, it's like, how can we work around that and still, with those things in mind, how can we still create your desired outcome? Because it's a lifestyle. It doesn't start and stop. So how are we going to create something where you feel good, where you have more energy, where you can sustain it. Sustainable is everything. So you can create a new way of living and feeling, because I know it's you never know how bad you felt until you start to feel good. So how do we support you in getting to that place and staying in that place? And I think my favorite thing about what we do is the difference between having a wellness coach and going to, you know, a big store, a box store, is that it's the personal touch. It's, you know, the other day, a friend of mine, you know, she just started working with me, and she's like, Blair, I forgot everything in my lunchbox at home. My 2 kids are sick. I'm at the hospital. Like, what can I eat right now? And so I was like, take a picture of the menu, and we worked through it together. And so I think it's just being able to have somebody with you along the journey who actually cares, and someone that you can talk to, you know, when life doesn't go as great as we want it to, or things change or things come up, but still being able to navigate through that and giving people the tools to do that.
Wonderful. Do you guys do more kind of online based, or is it more in person?
Well, right now, in the state of what we're in, is
yes.
A lot of FaceTimes.
Okay.
So we are on FaceTime.
Non-stop
FaceTime.
energy.
So it's calling people on FaceTime. It's Facebook Messenger, FaceTime,
Zoom, Skype,
voice record. So, like, you know, I don't know. We're not huge texters, or we're not huge email people. We just love the human connection.
Yeah, of course. And especially with the kind of business that you're in, I don't doubt that at all. Kind of how has that transition been for you? I mean, granted, with the state of the globe right now, has it been kind of difficult to do? Is there little obstacles, or not so much?
We can both answer that question. For me, pretty much everything that I did was online for the last 8 years. So when the world turned to online, I was like,
I've been here.
I was like, this feels like home.
Okay.
So yeah, but Blair's is different, but the way in which she maneuvered her organization and business and leadership and team has been like, they haven't even skipped a beat.
I think it's just always, you know, what's the mission that we're on, and with the new circumstances, how do we hold the mission and adjust to continue what we've set forth to do. So it's like the game hasn't changed. Maybe there was some different rules that were put in place, or different level. You know, it's like when you're in a video game, there's new levels, and you unlock new, what do they call at the end of the level? There's new wizards.
Yeah, I mean, there's new dragons to fight, and then there's like, when you learn a new cheat code that allows you to maneuver through the round more efficiently, then you're just like, oh my God, this is coming at me. This is coming at me. This is coming at me.
So the mission never changed. It just has unlocked, or
you've adapted.
Adapted, exactly.
And the beautiful thing about Blair and I, the past that we've gone through has always been about adjusting and adapting. A lot of people hide from life. So when this came about, my wife didn't skip a beat. I didn't skip a beat, because we're used to being in a situation, you got to climb out of it, figure out a way to get through it. So when you just go through those patterns of life, not trying to hide away or anything, and you're just kind of, you know what, if this is what it is, then I'll figure it out. You know, when you got 2 people doing that, it just amplifies the energy. So, you know, even during this process, I have not, and a lot of my wife's business is, a lot of it is like local based businesses. And she did not skip one beat. She did not complain. At least I didn't hear her complain, not one time. It's like, well, we got to figure it out. Up the ante, talk about this, do more calls, more of this. And it's just like, and that recorded the temperature of the people in our organization. And they responded how she responded, and both of us are having our highest productivity that we've ever had in business during a pandemic.
Wow, that's great. Oh my God, that's awesome. I mean, I flip on the news and it seems like every moment it's, this business is going down and this business is going out. But that's great that you guys have been able to keep the momentum going and to gain some new insights, some new followers. That's absolutely fabulous.
More than ever, I'm grateful, one, to be my own boss. And the second thing I'm grateful for is just being in the industry of health and nutrition, because food's never going anywhere. Health is never going anywhere. So if we're going to be in a sustainable, lifelong industry, again, I'm just a lot of gratitude for that.
Wonderful. And guys, if somebody is interested in, becoming a client of yours, maybe booking a speaking gig, or now, booking a Zoom gig, how can they do that? Right. How can they get a hold of you?
They can message us on Instagram.
Yep. Message Facebook, Instagram, DM us and be like, I heard you and I vibe with you. I want to be in with it, whatever it is that you're doing, and we'll point you in the right direction.
Wonderful, wonderful. Garrain, Blair, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. Thank you so much for giving me a call all the way from California up here in Minnesota. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You are both inspirational, and I wish you the best of luck on your future books, babies, and careers.
Awesome, and we're so grateful. This is our first podcast together.
Yeah, together. That's so awesome.
Thank you for asking the both of us. Usually he's somewhere and then I'm somewhere, but this is our first one together. So thank you, really. We're super grateful.
Yes, of course. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon, and we'll keep in touch.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Well, take care.
Yes, you too. Bye.
Bye.